Alright, hello and welcome. It's time to talk about the Esports Awards and also Call of Duty. I'll be covering everybody nominated here in this video. But before we get to that, I have been part of the Esports Awards for a pretty long time now. I think about 5 years I've been doing this, and I'm making this video for twofold. One, to kind of recognise the excellent people that have been nominated, but also to kind of explain the awards to you. So, first of all, if you are watching this and you're a Call of Duty Esports fan, let's get one thing perfectly clear. I don't choose the winners of any of these awards. I have a vote, as does the rest of the panel. So, first of all, let's explain how voting kind of works and nominations kind of works. There is a panel of experts from across the industry, from all walks of it, from producers to developers to TOs to other members of talent to everybody. Basically, everybody across games is involved, right? We all meet up in calls. It's taken a lot this year, especially. We've got a big panel. We've had lots of awards. There have been hours upon hours of calls. People have given up their time to debate this and figure out who is worthy of being nominated and who is worthy of getting an award. Nominations come in from several avenues. The panel can directly nominate someone or put that forward for consideration in any of these calls, but also we get the list of everybody who nominates publicly and how the public are viewing them. We can, as a panel, choose to ignore this. In the nomination phase, we will shortlist our 5 each individually, and that will all go into a collaboration, and they will figure out who deserves to be nominated from the list of shortlist from the panel members, and obviously all the public votes we get to look at as well. So there is no way to force a nomination in if the rest of the panel disagrees with you realistically, but usually you can put forward a good case for somebody on the call, and other panel members may agree and end up adding them to your shortlist. So nobody has any real control over who gets nominated. It's public, and then it comes down to the panel to shortlist and cut down who we think is viable for going in that category. It is, of course, a blind vote and blind nomination shortlist, so none of us know who anybody else has voted for, even if we have a pretty good idea of what is happening inside the panel, okay? So that's how that works. When it comes to voting, the voting actually takes even longer than the nomination period. I've been in so many calls for this, as the debates for each category can go on for hours, genuinely. And it works slightly differently this year. In previous years, it's worked on a point system and you vote for your top 3. This year, from what I believe, it works as a single vote per panel member, of which there's somewhere close to 30. It's a huge number. All blind voted, so you have no idea who wins. Obviously, around each person, Every single category has every single nominee read out in it, and people will speak on their behalf or bring up good or bad points or why they think they should win and vouch for the candidate they think is deserving, right? So you have these big, long conversations about across different games, and the experts from these games, they weigh up what major means in one, what major means in the second. It's always a very difficult thing for people to work out. Then it goes to the voting. The public get 25% of the votes, so their public votes are all kind of tallied and the points are distributed that way. Then the panel vote actually gets its own votes as well. So all this means is that not only do I not know who is going to win, even if I have a pretty good idea because of panel discussions and who we think is good candidates, I don't know who anybody's voting for. It also means I don't pick anybody. So if you think people deserve to be nominated, nominate them publicly next year, or even speak to a panel member, make a case for them, submit something, right, in any of these categories. But also, you know, don't blame anybody if something gets nominated or doesn't get nominated or does win or doesn't win. It is a vote. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't, other than voting for who I think is the candidate who kind of gets into it and says, yep, I think they should win, and vouching for them and giving context. That's basically all I've done in the last 5 years, is given context to people who I know personally or categories I know personally, and given my expert opinions on it, and that's all I can do. I cannot force people to vote for anybody. And I think that's the point of this video, is I'm going to go through and I'm going to nominate good points about the people who have been nominated and why they deserve to be nominated. You can disagree, that's absolutely your prerogative. My bit in this is if I don't agree with something, I either won't say something in the panel, or I will give a negative point and the panel can weigh up whether or not they think that's a good idea. Usually I try to stick to positives, right? Here's why, here's the context of their story, here's how I think it's going to go, okay? Disagree with me or whatever, that's how it is. There are other experts that also chime in on these categories. I know in Call of Duty there's been an awful lot, but I tell you what, let's get into the categories and we'll go through, and some of this I will have said in the panel, some of it I won't. I'm not going to tell you exactly what was said in these panel meetings, but I will give context to why they are nominated and a reason for people to vote for them. Right? I thought that was a great idea to kind of explain more of the Esports Awards Let's take a look. Okay, Esports Content Series of the Year. We actually kicked this off with a very interesting one because there is a separate panel that I'm not involved in for creative sides. Things like videographer, photographer, content creator, and Content Series of the Year. I don't have that much input in. So the categories for this one, obviously, is going to be The Hunt. Now, The Hunt was a great series at the beginning of it. Kind of interesting now because the Huntsmen have sort of looked like they've been put by the wayside, but very high production value, and apparently the creative panel thought that was a great reason to put The Hunt in and kind of hold it up as an example of what esports content can be. Okay, that's probably what's in there. I can't give you too much in-depth information. I wasn't involved in the creative panel. The other side of it is the Eavesdrop podcast. Now, again, not involved in the panel, but I love the Eavesdrop podcast. It's Hecz using his connections to bring us the very best of esports knowledge and interviews from across esports, not just Call of Duty, but a lot of them. But it is heavily Call of Duty based because that's what he does, right? That's Hecz for us. So yeah, that's probably why they're in here. I thought I'd give a quick explanation of these, even though I can't go too in depth with them because I wasn't involved in these panel votes specifically. Let's go to the next category. All right, Esports Content Creator of the Year. Again, this is another creative panel, but both of these are worth mention. Hecz, obviously, you know, Huntsman Hecz, Optic Hecz. Done great work with the Eavesdrop podcast. That alone gets him into this because he has put out fantastic content all year with it. It's very high level. It's very well produced. It's incredible for him. And obviously, he's a big content guy himself. So that's why Hecz is nominated for this category. And I'm sure many of you are voting for him as well. The other person in this category is Jake Sirkin. Now, I didn't know Jake until probably the start of this year. Until I started watching his stuff and caught up on it. And puts out an awful lot of content. Like the Esports Talk puts out an incredible amount of videos, and I do watch them. Not all of them, but a good amount, mostly Call of Duty ones. He's always up to date, and he's always putting the information down, so that's why he's in this category. And like I said, I'm sure the panel have had their own reasons to vote for him and nominate him as well on the creative panel, but that's those two in here. Let's move on to some categories that I do know something about. Esports Personality of the Year. A great category. It kind of shines for people who don't really fit into any kind of niche bit, but who is an evangelical of esports? Who is a personality, a face of esports, who's done great work, who's really pushed the boundaries of esports, who has become a sort of a pinnacle of what everybody aspires to be. And it doesn't need to be a host or anybody, but just their very personality and who they are is integral to esports and everything about it. The obvious candidate here is Hecz. He's done fantastic work all year. Obviously, as we come up to the awards, it's got even more crazy with the whole Optic saga and the Huntsman and bringing back the Optic brand and everything he's done over the years. Hecz is looking like he is a very good candidate for voting this year. I look forward to seeing how it goes. I honestly don't know, but there's no reason to see why he couldn't win this, genuinely, this time round. All right, let's go to the next one. Esports Analyst of the Year. This obviously is a new award, and the new award is pretty good because it does kind of give those analysts, those people who bring us the breakdowns in between the gameplay, to shine. And Nameless is our one for this one, our Call of Duty analyst Nameless. Now, I know Nameless might be a Marmite figure for some of you, but I think if you're being honest with yourself, he was a key analyst on the desk this year, mainly our main analyst, let's face it, and I do think that he could have shined even brighter this year if the desk hadn't had the COVID problems and maybe had been done a little bit differently. But look at the stuff he does outside of just being on that desk, right? Things like his podcast, things like his videos. You can tell that Nameless is not only still a high-level cerebral player in terms of Call of Duty, but he does know what he's talking about for the most part. Whether or not you agree with his takes is up to you. But I don't think you should take away from his ability to still be involved at a high level. His biggest benefit, I think, is the fact that he can still play with those players, still hang, has incredible connections that gives him a deeper insight than most other people. The truth is, a lot of people watching this and hating on Nameless could never get that close to the players and never get that inside scoop. So that, for me, is a reason why he's nominated, because he does have the ability to bring those stories to life. Let's move on. Esports Caster of the Year, Colour. Okay, so we have two of these, and this is a great category because typically when people talk about esports casters, they tend to gravitate towards the play-by-play because they are the more excitable, more screamy, shouty, more fun casters. But in this case, we are going to be looking at, first of all, MerK. MerK, obviously ex-pro player, done an awful lot in the scene here. I think he just keeps getting smoother and smoother. He's really settled in and relaxed into casting alongside Maven. And, you know, Maven obviously is a great talent himself. And the fact that nobody kind of like separates those two in terms of talent should speak volumes about what MerK does as a colour commentator. He manages to keep up with Maven's wacky antics, his energy, and everything else Maven does, but also will bring you the breakdown of the game in a very smooth and polished form, which is why he's been nominated, and I'm surprised he hasn't been nominated before for this. So yeah, MerK's done fantastically well. Could he win this one? It's very likely. Obviously, he's a great personality. A lot of people outside of Call of Duty know him. We'll have to see. But he isn't the only one here. We do also have Chance. Chance is an incredible talent in terms of raw technical ability. Now, I've been saying this since I've known Chance for the longest time. Chance is a technical caster in a very high level. I think previous years, his personality may have held him back in the fact that he didn't want to bring it out and show people, because Chance is a very funny, very laid-back kind of guy. This year, he has brought more of that to the fore, which is why he's got this nomination. He is very close to becoming the complete package in terms of should outshine just about anybody else in any esport, and I'm not saying that lightly. Chance is technically gifted in the way he conducts himself. He's obsessive with his game knowledge. He's happy to put out a hot take with the logic to back it up. And now he's come out of his shell, and obviously with Miles, it is becoming a force to be reckoned with. He may even win this. He may even win it next year. I think Chance is a great candidate for this, and I'm so happy he's nominated. But let's move on to our next category. Esports Cast of the Year, play-by-play. The people who bring us the hype moments, the big calls, the big shots, and everything you kind of remember when you think esports casting, right? Now, of course, it's going to be Maven. He's won this before. He's won Esports Cast of the Year before. Basically the same guy again. All the reasons he won it that year, he's been nominated for this year, and he could win it again. His incredible energy, his personality which beams through the broadcast, his ability to just make people like him. Very underrated skill there. The people just watching him just like watching him. Regardless of what gameplay goes on, they connect with his personality, and that draws them into the game. You get excited when he gets excited. Incredible talent for any caster. The fact that he also has upped his game knowledge and has brought that forward this year as well means that he still sits in this category as a very firm favourite to move forward as an esports caster and potentially another winner. Although I don't know how big his head would get if he won this award twice. So we'll see how he gets on. Let's take a look at the next one. Esports Coach of the Year. Now, obviously, this kind of shows which coaches do, and coaches sometimes can be overlooked because no one really knows a lot of what they do behind the scenes. But from what I've heard of Rambo, and the panel seem to have heard enough as well, they do think he has done a great job. Obviously, the Dallas Empire ended up winning this year, and to come on board a little bit late as he did, and still work with the team and work with incredible personalities like Clayster and Crimsix to bring up the young guns like Shotzzy and iLLeY is fantastic work, right? He has done a great job there. The best thing about this is the organisation and his teammates, and everybody speaks volumes about how great he is. It's a big thing for a coach, right? To say, yep, he has helped us, he has done this. They could say nothing. They could say, yeah, he's all right. But they beam with confidence and pride about having Rambo in their team and coaching them. And I think that speaks volumes. And yeah, very well could be Esports Coach of the Year. Glad he was nominated. Let's move on. Esports Console Player of the Year. 3 up for this one at the moment, and any of them could actually win it. This actually comes down to, when I spoke about this in the panel, just kind of giving context to what their story is and why they've been nominated, right? Because that's all I can do. I can just give the history of it, and a few people spoke on this one, but I did kind of run through their stories, and I'll do the exact same thing now, right? Crimsix, for instance, obviously the most winningest player of all time, but did not have a great start to the season. The big beef with the Huntsman and everything that went on there, a lot of people for a good majority of the season were kind of just trashing him. They were talking a lot of smack about this player, saying, you know, I don't think he's got it anymore, he's not going to be any good, it was easy to hate on him, and he even said it himself in an interview that he had to buckle down and really concentrate to get the win at the end of the season, right? A lot of drama surrounding Crimsix. Turns out, ends up coming back, getting his next World Championship, and really doing the business. Crimsix certainly ended up putting on a show and getting his 3rd ring, and still on the hunt for even more here. So that's his story this year, and that's why he's been nominated. Next up, very similar, is going to be Clayster. Clayster obviously has had the unfortune of breaking up with his World Championship roster in a United, come back to win it as a back-to-back World Champion in Call of Duty. Not an easy feat. People asked a lot of questions about whether or not he could do this without the Tiny Terrors running around with him. Simple and, you know, Abezy and all that. Turns out he can. Turns out he doesn't need to have those specific players. He can have other players. And he has talked himself about how much he has worked for this and gone into it and just tried to make winners out of his teammates. And he has his 3rd ring as well. So it's an incredible story for Clayster this year at the same time. Talk about storylines. The fact he ended up getting dropped after this doesn't take away from it. It's just another story for him to try and overcome as he keeps doing it. Wins a World Championship and he's gone back to back. Incredible achievement. Worthy of Call of Duty Console Player of the Year. Let's see whether or not he ends up winning it himself. But let's move on to our 3rd. Our 3rd, of course, is going to be Shotzzy. Shotzzy done great work this year as well. Come in as a rookie, came from Halo as well, doing the World Championships across 2 games. They took a lot of risk on him at the start of the year. We all know that. He was also another one of these players that people like to talk bad on. Oh, he's not going to be able to do it. He's not going to be able to step in. He's not going to be able to do it on that. He's not going to be able to win anything. You know, it's a huge risk for the Empire to take it. And that continued right up until he showed them exactly what he could do. Ended up going MVP of the season. Ended up winning his 1st World Championship in his rookie year. Incredible story, incredible impact on the team, and that is why he could very well win Esports Console Player of the Year. Well, there's those. Let's move on to the next category. Right, Esports Console Rookie of the Year, a category where Call of Duty has always excelled. We seem to have fantastic rookies. So let's take a little look at this one, of course. Let's start off with Owakening. Great start to the year when he joined the Mutineers. Certainly improved their fortunes as well. And the people doubting whether or not he could perform at that kind of level were certainly silenced as soon as he did so. A great category for him here. He has had a great impact in professional play. The only issue with him, of course, is no matter how good he is slightly overshadowed by his colleagues in this one. Speaking of colleagues, let's talk about iLLeY. iLLeY's in here, won 3 homestands and a World Championship in a rookie season. An incredible achievement for anybody in any season, let alone your 1st year of going pro in Call of Duty. Excellent candidate. Could potentially win this award, but there is one more person going against them. That's going to be Shotzzy. Shotzzy had an interesting start to the year. A lot of people were worried that there was a lot of risk taken on whether or not he could perform after coming over from Halo. Well, after all the trash talk that went on and people doubting him, not only did he end up winning 3 homestands as well as iLLeY and a World Championship, end up going the CDL Season MVP as well as the CDL 2020 Breakout Player. An incredible impact on the team and could very well be the Console Rookie of the Year. Let's have a look at our next category. Esports Host of the Year. This is an incredible achievement if you can even be nominated for. There are titans and very, very talented people in this award category. And of course, our very own Lottie Van-Praag is up for it this year. I've known Lottie for a long time and she has come on leaps and bounds every single year and keeps pushing the boundary of just how good she can be. It wasn't just Call of Duty actually that she was talked about in this. Other games came forward and said she was an absolute world star to be working with, and I kind of agree. I think it's been a fantastic year for her. Probably should be just nominated for working with Rich Campbell alone. But Lottie has done fantastic work on the desk from a rocky start where people were being quite mean and ridiculous and toxic on the internet about her appointment to the role because they liked the old host. She ignored all of that, got her head down and put out a fantastic job on the inaugural season of the Call of Duty League. She could be a potential winner in this one and I am more than happy for her. Right, let's move on to our next category. Esports Team of the Year. Obviously an easy one for this, who's done a great job during the year. Dallas Empire are up for this one. And they, well, 3 homestands and a World Championship in the inaugural season of the Call of Duty League. Pretty much speaks for itself. They've got players all over the place in the console, players and rookies. The coaches nominated. Dallas Empire had a great year, and that cannot be disputed by anyone. Whether or not they win it, this is a hot competition. It's a difficult category to get a win in because obviously depending on how the tournaments go, but 4 wins this year could put them over the top. And that's about everything I have to say about the Esports Awards this year, other than I am happy to be involved, and I know for a fact that they are continually improving it year by year. And if you don't like something, well, nominate who you want to be in. Try and join the panel. Speak to people. The Esports Awards has made it a personal point of pride to make sure they improve and get better every year and include more people. Otherwise, I would have walked away a long time ago. So I'm bored of seeing people whining on Twitter about it. If you want to do something, get involved. If not, shut up. I'm bored of it. But thank you for watching this video. It's been weird talking about some of my colleagues during this because they're all great people and I love them, and it's very difficult for me not to take the piss out of them. But, you know, they're all great. Everybody I've spoken about today is fantastic and 100% deserves to be nominated. And I couldn't be happier for them, and I'll be putting my fingers crossed on awards night to see whether or not they can get it. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.